Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday, and welcome back to the CI Chit Chat. My name is Mitchell. Just about to the office. Gosh darn, construction season. But I'll swap over to my desk in a minute. But welcome back to another CI Chit Chat. Got another guest with me here today, Alex from our team. I'll let him introduce himself here in just a little bit. But actually, why don't we do that, Alex? Since I'm just about to the office,
Yeah.
why don't we switch things up a little bit? Why don't we let you kind of start, give a little bit of background, kind of on your role, on your what you're doing with Continuum.
Yep.
Obviously, you're one of our newer members of the team. But explain kind of what you're up to. Show me your background and what you see going on here with Continuum.
Yeah. Yeah. So my name is Alex Klopfenstein. I'm from Washington, Iowa. I live here now. Family and kids are here. And I have a background in public education. I was a teacher, coach, instructional coach, and administrator for 12 years, and recently got out of education, but still get to use those skills here at Continuum, which is really kind of nice. We're aligning some things. In my title, Director of Strategic Initiatives, I really look at like, how are the things that we're doing going together? Do we have too many balls in the air at once? And then just try and kind of reel us back in with some meetings and different things to make sure that we're all forging forward. Another part of one of my roles is to create and manage like employee training, and also if we have any dealers on here, eventually we'll get some more training and some real solid materials here for dealers as well. So just working on the back end of a lot of things, stuff that people think just kind of appears, just making that stuff from sometimes with some examples, sometimes from scratch. So really, my family farmed forever, and my dad was the first generation to get out in the early 80s, and he pursued something else. And then I've always enjoyed going with my grandpa and stuff, and this is my way to reconnect back with ag. That's kind of in my family. But for the most part, yeah, I've been here about 3 months now, and I think one of the most important roles too here is making sure we get the right people on board with us, because we're growing like no other too. So there's a lot of potential to explode here and to get a lot of people on board, and we want to vet and get the right people with Continuum as well. See, Mitchell, you're about in.
I'm just not gonna walk inside, but maybe one more thing with that, Alex. You're very much obviously a process guy,
Yeah.
and we're putting out process here that's totally brand new, right? We're gonna dig into that here with the carbon intensity stuff, but maybe just speak real quick to just overall consistency, process, and the things that we're getting built out as far as like the farmer process,
Yeah.
the dealer process, and obviously, hopefully, we're going to learn some today about the ethanol process.
Yeah. So one of the things we want to take out the questioning, we want to make sure that things are in a step-by-step standard operational procedures, and just documenting those to make sure everybody has those tools to be successful. So you don't have to ever wonder what's next. You know exactly the path and the plan. So we've developed and created a farmer journey, a customer journey, which the farmer knows exactly what is their step in the process of when they sign up for CI certification. And then also we're working on and we'll finalize this week a dealer journey as well, which is the same thing, just working mirror from both sides. So the dealer understands what they're supposed to be doing, the customer understands what they're supposed to be doing, and then eventually we'll get to finalizing our ethanol journey, so our ethanol partners know what their role is in this whole process. So they'll all speak to each other, and it'll be a nice fluid process to take out the questioning, the wonder, and everybody can be on the same page of where they're at in the process.
Well, and it ends up being, if we are going to scale this thing to obviously our goal being north of 1 billion bushels, we've got to have consistency, we've got to have process, we've got systems in place, and that's really why why I think Alex is such a critical person to bring into this, to like kind of monitor all the different things for across the different departments and make sure that there's continuity amongst everything, that we're growing so fast and there's so much work to be done. We've got to make sure that there's consistency and some systems. So, but anyway, okay, appreciate it, Alex. We'll come back, circle back around. I will kind of go back to how we always start off these typical chit chats when the construction doesn't slow me down, which is what the heck are we doing here, and what the heck is this whole CI thing? I see a whole bunch of you on. Sorry that this is a little discombobulated today, but CI stands for carbon intensity. Carbon intensity is a unit of measure primarily used in the energy space, and it basically is the carbon footprint of a fuel, and part of that carbon footprint of a fuel is part of that carbon footprint comes from what was the fuel made out of. Is it a fossil fuel, or is it a renewable fuel like we're talking here with ethanol, biodiesel, sustainable aviation fuel? Part of the overall carbon footprint of that fuel comes from that feedstock, and that feedstock is what we are helping farmers to quantify, and to quantify what is their carbon intensity of that feedstock. The carbon intensity of that feedstock, corn and soybeans, that carbon intensity score is influenced by your use of fertilizer, pesticides, tillage, manure, cover crop, your yield. Think of it as every single pass across the field has a footprint to it. That's in the numerator, and that footprint gets divided by the denominator, or the yield that comes off of your farm. So it's the carbon footprint per bushel, and that bushel gets converted into a gallon of fuel. In the future, this will expand into, non-biofuel markets like pork and low carbon pork, low carbon eggs, low carbon milk, whatever it may be. But today, we're mostly talking biofuel. And the reason we're talking that is there's tax credits to back it up. 45Z is the main tax credit we're talking about. It's a clean fuel or clean transportation biofuel tax credit. And it's a producer tax credit. So the biofuel producer gets the credit. In order for the biofuel producer to maximize the credit, they can utilize low carbon grain to produce low carbon fuel. And our job here is to help you as a farmer to understand your data, get your scores put together, help you get verified. So, but to go further, today could be the biggest day ever in this entire space. And the reason being is we were supposed to get the new GREET model today. Now, we were supposed to get the new GREET model on March 1st. And we've been joking, saying that they're going to claim that they're only a month late because they're getting it out instead of in March, they're getting it out in April. Well, it's obviously the last day of April. But nonetheless, hopefully it comes today. Hopefully it's good. I'm optimistic, but I'm hearing a lot of mixed signals. So I will I'll continue to kind of monitor here, and hopefully this could be released here in just a couple minutes, like at 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. But we will see. We'll see what happens here. So, but anyway, I'll continue to kind of monitor my email here. If this new GREET model does get released today, we are planning on doing another webinar and a press conference later on this afternoon, after we've had a little bit of time to dig into the GREET model and debrief, or figure out, like, is it good or is it not so good? So what we're hearing is that across the board, they're probably going to ratchet up the CI scores of the biofuel based on indirect land use change. So today, of the gallon of ethanol, the gallon of ethanol has a CI score usually of around 55, 53, somewhere in that range. Every ethanol plant is slightly different, but today they're usually in the mid to low 50s. Out of that score, 7.4 of those CI points comes from indirect land use change. What is likely going to happen is they're going to increase that number higher than 7.4. Say it increases by 5 points and now it's at 12. So if your ethanol plant today was a 55, tomorrow it might be now at a 60, a 5-point increase. If we're at a 60, it's still in striking distance. We can still make 45Z work. and it will be okay. If they go by more than that and ding the scores by more than an extra 5 points from where we are today, it could make things really, really challenging to get below the CI baseline of a 50. The magic number in 45Z is a CI score of 50. So if you're further from 50, it's going to make it harder to get to that 50 and get below in order to qualify for the tax credit. So that is ultimately what we are trying to learn about. And hopefully we get some clarity on that with the GREET model today. In order to counter that indirect land use change component, all the things I'm hearing about is that they will give credit to on-farm practices. So they're going to make it tougher for ethanol to qualify, but they're going to enable the connection with the farmers and the soil health practices in order to qualify and lower the CI score. So hopefully, overall, that means a huge day for all you farmers that are on here, all you agronomists that are on here, and for us at Continuum Ag. But it might also mean it's going to take some work. And these ethanol plants, we've been yelling for more than a year that we've got to get farmers aware of this, and it's going to take a larger percentage of farmer participation to lower the weighted average if they hurt the score because of indirect land use change. So hopefully we get some clarity on that today. We are planning on this webinar at 4:30, just a little inside baseball, 4:30 Central. Again, pending getting this GREET model out. If it happens today, if not, we'll do some kind of a press conference and webinar whenever it does happen. So we have learned not to hold our breath when waiting for the GREET model, or else we would have died a long time ago. So, but anyway, Alex, any hot take on that? I mean, obviously you're a little bit newer to all this, but any hot take on some of these announcements to hopefully come out today?
Yeah, I just think, like, obviously use your resources. There's a lot of stuff out there that could release this, but like bank on us too, because we have a team waiting right now, ready to go through everything, and we'll do a lot of the grunt work behind to figure out different costs, different numbers, different everything, and just kind of give some rough examples if it does come out, so that we take that calculation and part out and just kind of compare the difference between what was and what will be.
Yeah, try to make it simple on like, okay, how is this actually impacting some of our own scores?
Yeah.
Right. To make it simple and like, all right, what did this actually do? I got a private message here from Gary. Gary, appreciate that. He's saying that the announcements today are going to be for 2024 tax credits, not 2025. I do agree, Gary. So what we're going to get the announcements on today is primarily about 40B, not 45Z, like our main focus. 40B is what they will actually be announcing this GREET model for. And already Vilsack and others have said that this GREET model that's due to come today, it won't be the final one. They're going to modify it again. They're going to update it again, which of course they will, right? They've been modifying this constantly since the mid 90s when they first put it out there. So we know that it'll continue to change, but it's a very good indication as to what's going to happen. That's why we're talking about it. But the real rules that they are supposed to get out today is in regards to 40B. 40B is a 2-year tax credit for sustainable aviation fuel. And those 2 years are 2023 and 2024. So that's why they got to get these rules out there. We're already almost 3/4 of the way through that those 2 years of tax credit, and they still don't have the rules. So that's Gary, exactly to your point. The details that are supposed to come out today are in regards to 40B, the sustainable aviation fuel tax credit, but very strong indicator as to what's going to happen with 45Z, and that's why it's such a big deal. Also, just a huge deal for the ability to use what's called alcohol to jet, which is where you can produce sustainable aviation fuel with feedstocks like ethanol and or corn and soybean based fuels. So that's the other piece that we're supposed to learn about today is ethanol going to have a pathway to be utilized to produce sustainable aviation fuel? And today the model utilized for sustainable aviation fuel is called the CORSIA model. It's a global standard. But in December, the Department of Energy announced that they're going to be allowing the GREET model to be utilized as an alternative to the CORSIA model for these tax credits. The IRS and announced that in December. So that's why this announcement is such a big deal. It's the GREET model that's needed to quantify the carbon footprint of the sustainable aviation fuel and basically give the indicator as to, is ethanol produced in the US going to be a viable feedstock? Today, it's not, because of this CORSIA model. And I mentioned in the GREET model, indirect land use change is 7.4 CI points in the wrong direction for corn-based ethanol. In the CORSIA model, it's 25 points. So that's the impact that it's making, is that it basically, you have an automatic 25 CI point impact for utilizing corn-based ethanol when you're trying to calculate your footprint with the CORSIA model. So that's why it doesn't qualify, and that's why they're bringing in Brazilian ethanol and producing sustainable aviation fuel with Brazilian ethanol. Because of how the calculation works, Brazilian ethanol qualifies and American ethanol doesn't. So supposed to get the clarifications on that, and hopefully it's going to be good, but hopefully we find out sooner rather than later. Anyway, all right, let's jump into a couple things. So, okay, a couple questions come in, and feel free to definitely put some questions in the chat here as we go as well. But Meredith had a question. How does a producer go about getting their product certified? What does distribution then look like? And what can we do to optimize our strategy? Love this, Meredith. So how do you get certified? That's our main business. Our main product in the space is that for $5 an acre, we help the farmer to get their CI score scored for each field. We help you to document the farming practices, and we help you to we get you verified upon your request. We work with a local Des Moines-based third-party verifier. They are the one that looks at the score. They check the math. They look at the evidence that we are providing, right? Shape files, receipts, whatever that may be. We help you to do that. And they give the stamp of approval that, yep, your score is legit. So, but the certification process, we call it CI certification, and it's $5 an acre. You can sign up on topsoil.ag. Log into your Topsoil account, and you can sign up right there. And then what does the distribution look like, right? The marketplace. And that's really the piece that I think I'm excited about trying to maybe be part of building. The marketplace for low carbon grain doesn't exist today. Like, there's no way that I can market my carbon negative grain, and there's no way that the ethanol plants or an elevator can put out a bid for low carbon grain. It'd be a manual process at best right now. So I do think that there's some opportunity for a marketplace to be built out. We're having some discussions and some strategy chats about that. And hopefully, again, hopefully these GREET model announcements end up giving us kind of the go-ahead that we need to invest in building some of these next tools and partnering with other companies that want to partner to go and build some of that. But I think right now, to Meredith's point, from a strategy standpoint, keep good records, document everything that you're doing on your farm. We'd love for you to at least get your CI score on topsoil. We've done that for now. We're at 263 million bushels. Okay. 263 million bushels have already been scored in topsoil with an average score of an 11. If your bushels are not part of that, definitely get onto topsoil. Get your scores put together. You can utilize our billion bushel challenge code. It's BBC95, and it's just $25 to get the score. It's 95% off from our typical 500. So we want you to get your score. We built these tools to make it really simple. Now, when the new GREET model comes out, we're going to have to plumb in that GREET model and recalculate all the scores. Okay, so your score likely will change from what you'll see in topsoil today. I guarantee that it will be different, but you'll at least have a great indication based on what your score is going to be. We'll re-up those numbers, and we'll notify you when those numbers are ready, and we go from there. But Alex, you're seeing a bunch of people come in and go through that certification process, right? And it is that process. It's a full year thing. And we like to start now because it spreads out the workload from a lift, a lift for us, a lift for our dealers, but a lift for the farmer too.
Yeah. Yeah. And every experience I've ever been in where you want to be successful, documentation of everything so you can go back in a nice organized way. I know that's tough for some people, but that's why we're here. We can help you do that as well in that process. And we have that process solidified and figured out as well. So it's just super important. I mean, keep everything, document everything at the bare minimum. So that way you can go back and get to stuff and you're not fumbling around later to try and figure stuff out.
Yeah. A lot of even if today's rules aren't amazing or they punt again, right? Good chance that could happen. Or they're going to say, well, here's some of the rules, but really they're not going to tell us everything, right? And nonetheless, it's going to be a lot easier to document our practices now. We'd love to help you to do that. Hopefully, there's some premium to be garnered in the biofuel space. But if not, I think there's a lot of other markets that are going to be developed, and excited to go after those and to develop other markets that can utilize this process. So and we kind of go from there. But Alex, do you see any other like kind of questions and stuff on your side?
Um, yeah, there's a couple more. One was just in the chat. Where's the best place to hear the release? We'll send information out.
Oh, great.
Um, and that, so just be looking at emails today,
Yep.
in case of that. And then it'll just be sign up and then you'll just put in your email. So we kind of know who's there and whatnot. So just be
Yeah,
looking
Brian.
at emails and the
Brian,
link.
we have a email drafted up, ready to hit send. Our fingers are hovering over the send button, ready to hit send and notify you guys. But I'm sure there will be announcements coming out from the likes of Renewable Fuels Association. The last time that they updated the GREET model, the Department of Energy sent out an email with the model and stuff. I haven't seen that come through yet. And again, who knows? Who knows when it's going to happen or what will go down. But we'll just kind of keep checking here as the day goes on, and we'll send out an email and we'll post stuff on our social media as soon as we know that hey, it's out, it's here. We won't be able to know any details at that point, but we'll at least let you guys know that it happened, and we'll let you know the details of kind of an emergency press conference to share the details after we get a little time to dig in. So I had a Taylor sent me a direct message in the chat. In a huge hog usage or huge hog area, so a lot of grains going to feed. How are these feed guys going to compete? How are the local ethanol? How would the local elevators be able to compete and pass through any of this like CI premium and stuff? Taylor, I'm in the same boat. I'm in Washington County, Iowa, number 2 pork producing county in the country. I'm in this exact same type of situation. So a lot of our grain goes to feed pigs, but only rarely do we take stuff down to the only rarely do we go down to the ethanol plant. So what will likely be able to happen is that we might have to change where we sell our grain to. If there is a connection and a direct connectivity between the grain and the score, if they have to stay together, we might have to sell some of our grain different, and it's going to negatively impact the pork industry. Now, I do think there could be some positive opportunity for the pork guys who maybe they're able to sell some grain and move grain around and kind of switch and swap around. Also, utilizing hog manure helps tremendously to lower the CI score. So maybe they can monetize the manure as a way to stay competitive. There's a variety of different opportunities there. And again, hopefully we get some of these details. We can get, I think, pretty creative. But happy to have some discussions on it. That I'm worried that the livestock industry could see a negative impact, and they're already, of course, struggling and in really, really tight margin situations. So they need to get ahead of it and have a lot of those conversations. And happy to have that with you. Couple things. Oh, thanks, Joanne. Send that note to Diana, please. About the press release and being able to utilize you guys' service. So appreciate that. Don, if you lock in acres for $5 an acre and this doesn't work in my out 5, that's the risk. I wish there was a better answer to it, but we're still very confident that, hey, if it's CI, there's a huge ROI on that $5. Like $5 is nothing if this goes through. If a farmer's in and pays us the 5, we are going to go and move mountains to try to create ROI for you. It's going to be easy peasy if it's CI and if this all works out the way that we want. If not, there's other inset projects. There's other sources of money out there that we still want to help you to get some ROI. Or you're working with our people to help you on managing data, making better decisions, getting your ducks in a row, getting things organized for the next opportunity that comes. But I mean, yeah, it basically at the end of the day, the total risk for the farmer is $5 and a little bit of your time to work with our people to document. And we're going to battle with you, and hope that, and still very confident we're going to be able to find you some ROI somewhere. And hopefully we find out today if that's really gonna rock. Dennis is asking, why is indirect land use change lower for Brazilian ethanol versus the US? And Dennis, the real thing is, I don't fully understand why. Part of it being for corn, for example, the corn CI score is lower because corn is the second crop for most of these areas, right? They raise soybeans first. So they have the indirect land use change and they have some of the carbon footprint associated to the soybeans. Then they double crop corn. And since it's a double crop, it's kind of a bonus and it doesn't have some of these negative impacts. So that's my understanding of it. For sugarcane, I don't know enough about sugarcane as to why the sugarcane ethanol has such a low footprint. I believe just due to some of the management practices, but it's the nuances of these scores. And governments have impact. A lot of these folks that are in these agencies, they have real impact and they're not elected. But the people that we elect have major impact on this stuff, and we need to get this dialed in. All right, a lot of great questions coming in. The CI score is reduced to 0 through new innovative practices. How much can growers receive as a result? So great question there. So the CI score can actually go even further, it can go negative. What we factor in today is trying to be conservative, that every CI point the farmer reduces is worth about 5.4 cents per point per bushel. So take your county baseline, which is usually around a 29. So figure 29 minus your score times 5.4. That'll give you a general number as to what the value could be. But that's the total tax credit value. We don't know what the farmer cut would be or what the farmer share would be. So, oh, great. Joanne, part of the reason the sugarcane is that the biogas, or the gas is used for the power generation. That's awesome. So they can utilize the gas for the power, and that lowers the score. If the ethanol plant hook up to a carbon pipeline, is there any benefit to get your acre certified? Yeah. So Adam, great question. Ethanol plants can utilize a pipeline to lower their score by about 30 points, and they can utilize low carbon grain. They can stack them. And if they had a pipeline, they would lower their CI score to about a 25 or so, but they would still have 25 more points to go, and they can utilize low carbon corn. These tax credits start in just a couple months, and those pipelines aren't going in right now, and so they don't have the pipeline option right now. So we need the corn, but they can stack. Jack, yeah, sugarcane's a perennial crop. I was thinking so. I didn't want to say it. I appreciate that, Jack. So sugarcane, perennial crop. So that'd be the other thing, right? They're not tilling it. It's constantly growing out there. So that would lower the score as well. What kind of data is needed from growers to measure? Oh, will you need to measure SOC? No, the data for the growers is on topsoil. It's just management practices. Go to topsoil.ag. You can fill out a farm profile and see the data that we need. Do you know whether the incentive can be combined with incentives from carbon credits? That's a big gray area and a big unknown. Each carbon credit program is going to be a little bit different, and it's going to be based on their registry, their verifier, their buyer. We are being approached by different carbon credit groups who are saying that they are going to allow for stacking. I kind of think it's double counting, but I didn't write the rules. And hey, if farmers can be in a carbon credit program, and being a premium program based on the carbon footprint of the grain, game on. So, but it depends on the folks that are making those decisions and the folks that wrote the rules. I did not write the rules. So, let's see. Okay, so there is I just got an email here from RFA, and then I'll let you guys go. So, there was a new sustainable aviation fuel coalition that was launched yesterday. It looks pretty interesting. I need to look into it some more, but it looks like just some of the stuff talking about GREET model coming, but no announcement that it is here yet. So still waiting, and I got to get on another meeting here. So no GREET model yet. Hopefully something happens here this morning. We will keep you all posted and let you know. Alex, sorry we went rapid fire at the end. Any final comments from your side, or we'll let everyone get on with their day?
No, just be looking at emails today, just in case this does happen, that we're ready to go. So
rock and roll.
Yep.
Anyway, thanks everyone. Appreciate your time. Have a great Tuesday, and hopefully we'll see you on a emergency press conference later today.